Today we're going to see phone calls and emails. So, how do you handle phone calls? Have you ever done an international phone call for business in English? Myself, I have done many, and there are some tips that we need to know in order to make a phone call, especially if we're talking about business, and more important, if we're talking in English, that it is not our main language. So the tips are the following. First, you don't have to be afraid to make mistakes. Um, We are humans, human beings, and we always make mistakes, and we will make mistakes, even though myself, I have many years of experience, but I still do make some mistakes. So, the first tip in order to have a successful phone call in the business phone call with an international supplier or client is to never be afraid of make mistakes. The second one, it is to learn from your mistakes. So, if you make a mistake, you have to relax, and then after you finish your conversation, you have to see what happened, what did you make, which was the mistake, and how can you learn from it so you are not going to do it again. So you have to learn from them. You don't have to be afraid. You just have to learn and find a solution for that problem that you had. The third one, it is you have to think of phrases you might say. In this case, if I know that I'm going to talk about to a supplier in China, I have to think first. What am I gonna say? So I'm gonna call him, and once he pick up, I'm gonna say, "Hello, how are you? This is Liliana." So I have to, if I can in my mind, I have to think what I'm gonna say beforehand, so I don't have problems and I'm not empty-handed when I confront with the phone call. If you are not able to just think about what you're gonna say, it is okay if you just write in a piece of paper what you think you might say. So when you're talking to them, you can read it. Another tip that I can give you is don't be afraid to ask for repetition or clarification. Sometimes when we speak to Asian suppliers or clients, um, they have accents, so sometimes it's really difficult to understand them. So we don't have to be afraid to ask maybe for a repetition or clarification. Also, when we're talking to suppliers or clients from the United States, they talk clear and good, but they tend to be a little faster when they speak, especially if you talk to New Yorkers, people from New York, they speak really fast. So it is okay to not be afraid and ask them to maybe speak a little slowly. If you, I don't know if you ever talked to another supplier or client from another country, but it is usually it has happened to me when I talk to Chinese suppliers. They are not afraid to ask for a clarification. Sometimes they have a hard time understanding us because we sometimes speak a little too fast. So they say, please, can you repeat what you said? Can you say it again? Can you speak a little more slow? So that's okay. We don't have to be afraid to ask for that. Another one is to be polite. To be polite. So in this case, we always have to be respectful to other suppliers or clients. We need to be polite, to be gentle with them, so we can get back from them the same kind of politeness. So it is very important. Another one is to speak clear, loud, but slow. So, if we know that we are talking to someone that maybe the English is not their first language, maybe we're talking to a Chinese, a Japanese, or a Korean supplier or client, we have to try to speak slow, not that slow, but in clear and slow way, but loud enough so they can hear us. So and they can understand and get the message that we are saying. And the last tip that I can give you, and it is a very important one, is that every time before calling internationally for business, or even though if you're not calling for business, it's just a personal call, international call that is going to be in English, you have to relax. Realize that it is just a conversation. You don't have to be nervous or scared about anything, and take a deep breath. So, when you are going to first, before calling someone, you have to remember that you have to relax, and then you take a deep breath so you get all the nervous energy out of you, and then you make your call. Talking about a little more about the beginning, the message, and the ending of a telephone call. What should I say? So once when you call, you can divide this in two parts. When you call and when someone calls you. So when you call, what can you say? First of all, the first step is to greet the person. So maybe you can say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is a very, very polite way. But sometimes when you speak to someone that you have previously talked to, you can be a little more informal and maybe you can say hello, hi. That's okay. It depends of if you're talking to the person for the first time, if you have to be more formal, or if there is already a friendly relationship with the supplier or client, and you can be a little more informal and just say hello, hi. Then you have to identify yourself. You have to present yourself. So you have to give your name and maybe your company's name. So you can say, in this case, my name is Liliana. So I will say, this is Liliana Kipusco from, and then you say the name's company. For example, let's say, I have here a card that it is from this company that it is called Andina Plus. So let's imagine that I am the sales manager. So I'm gonna say, good morning. This is Liliana Kipusco from Andina Plast. Another way of identifying yourself is this. This is Liliana Kipusco, and I'm calling about a sale that we maybe speak about yesterday. So you say your name, and then you can say the company too, and then you can explain why are you calling, why you're calling. Step number three, it is to ask. Maybe you didn't call to the cell phone person, you call to the general number. So the call is going to go first through a secretary. So how can you ask to speak to the person of your interest? So in this case, there are many ways. You can say is and then the name of the person of interest and then available, to ask if they are available. Another way is, can I talk to, and then you say the name of the person of interest. Another way is, may I speak to, and then you say the name of the person of interest. And there's another way that you can say, I would like to speak to, and then you say the name of the person of interest, and you can say please at the end. So in this case, let's say that the name of my person of interest, it is Susana Guzman. Let's say an example. So I'm going to use the all the ways of the step number three in order to ask for the person. So it would be, is Susana Guzman available? Another way is, can I talk to Susana Guzman? Another one is, may I speak to Susana Guzman? And the final is, I would like I would like to speak to Susana Guzman, please. Okay, so in that way we can ask for another person. Then your person of interest answers to your call, you can then say hi to that person, or good morning, afternoon. So in this case, it is step number four. So you can say hi, and you say the name of the person that you want to talk about, and then you can do a little small talk That it is, how are you? How are things going? So you can say, hi Susana Guzman, how are you? Or hi Susana Guzman, how are things going? So it is a little small talk after you introduce yourself. Then it comes step number 5. It means step number 5 is, why are you calling? So in this case, you can say, I'm calling to ask and then about, and then you say what your reason. Also, you can say, I'm calling to discuss about, or I'm calling to clarify something. Another one is, I just wanted to ask, and then you say what you wanted. And another one is, can you tell me? And then you say a reason. For example, we can say, I'm just going to ask about the sale that we spoke. Let's just say. Another one is, I just wanted to ask how much is the product that we talk about cost. Or maybe you can say, could you tell me how much the product that we talk about is? So those are some ways of you explaining why you are calling. Then it comes step number 6. Step, step number 6 is you asking for something. In this case, you can say, could you send me an email with a detailed offer? Every time you speak about business via telephone, um, there are going to be, maybe they are going to give you prices, maybe they are going to give you lead times, how much time is going to take the product to get to you, and many kind of details about a business matter. But you always have to ask so to them, to your client or supplier, to send the information via an email, because even though if we speak on the phone, it means that both the persons that are making the transaction are giving their word, their promise of what they're saying, even though we have to ask for an email because we need to have everything in writing. We need everything in writing, so if something happens, we can say, I have here the evidence of you telling me this price, so why are you maybe charging me more? So in this case, we can say, like I said, step number 6, we can ask, could you send me an email with a detailed offer? Or maybe, do you mind sending me the report again, please? Then we have step number 7, that it is, maybe if we are talking and we need a minute to think about something, or maybe we need a minute to ask for a price, or maybe we need a minute to confirm some information from another person, we can say the following. We can say, can I put you on hold for a moment, please? Or maybe, would you mind holding for just a moment? So they are gonna say to you, yes, of course. So you can put them on hold and you can speak or clarify or confirm any information that you need to, and then you can go back and say, thank you for waiting, and then you continue speaking. Then it comes step number 8, that it is when you are calling someone but that person is not available. So how can you ask so the person can call you back later, or maybe give a message to the person, so you can use this one. You can say, please tell him or her, if it is a female, that, and you give your name, and then you say called. Ask him or her to call me back at, and you give your number. For example, I can say, please tell, in this case we were talking about Susana Guzman, you remember? So in this case I can say, please tell her that Liliana Kipusco called. Ask her to call me back at 555-3207, for example. Another one is, could you have her return my call? If it is a male, you can say, could you have him return my call? tomorrow or today, you can change that time. Maybe you can say, could you have her return my call today? Another one, it is to say the following. Uh, Please put me through his or her voicemail. Thank you. This is especially when you're talking to secretaries. Some companies, they have each person, they have a voicemail. I have worked in companies that they do have this, and I know other ones that they don't have. So if we are if we know that the person that we are talking to has a voicemail, it is better if we leave a message. But in case that they don't have a voicemail, we can just give the message to the secretary or the person that you're talking to. But if they have a voicemail, you can say, please put me through his or her voicemail. Thank you. Then, if you don't want to leave a message and you want to call back because you need to speak to that person, you can use step number 9. So you can say, when is a good time to call? Or when is she or he going to be back? So they can answer you back. Maybe she's off for the day, she's going to be back tomorrow at 9 a.m., for example. So after that, you can use step number 10, that it is the final, that you're going to say your ending of a telephone call, that it is you're saying goodbye. So in this case, you will say, thank you very much for your help, thank you for your time, or just thank you, plain thank you, it is okay too. So that is what you say when you are calling someone, the steps and the options that you have so you can speak to someone that you're calling. Next, we are going to see what happens when someone calls you. That it is the other option. In this case, we have I have also put in many steps so you can have like a detailed way to say. So in this case, you can say the first step is to say hello, to greet. So again, you can say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is especially if we're polite and we want to be a little more formal, if we don't have that much of a friendly relationship with the person. Another way of saying, of greeting someone is that you can say just hello or hi. But this would be, like I already explained, a more informal way that you can use if you already know the person very well. So the second one, it is also to introduce yourself. So you can say, this is, in this case, your name, or the other option is you can give your name and then say the word speaking. So you're telling the person that is calling you who you are. So they can know if they are really want to talk to you or they want to talk to another person. In this case, you can say, I'm going to give you an example with my name. So, good morning, this is Liliana. Or, good morning, Liliana Kipusku speaking, so they know who am I. Then, step number 3 is to ask, how can you help? Or who do they want to talk to? Because maybe they're calling to your phone, but they don't want to talk to you. Then maybe they want to talk to a coworker. So in this case, you can say, could I ask who's calling, please? So they can give you their name and you can know if they want to talk to you or maybe you don't know the person, so it means they want to talk to someone else. Or also you can say, how may I help you? So they can say, hi, how are you? This is, I don't know, maybe this is Susana Guzman and I wanted to talk to you. Or maybe they can say to you, this is Susana Guzman, I wanted to talk to your boss. So then is the step number 4, that it is to do a little small talk again. So you can ask, how are you? So they can tell you, oh, things are going fine. You can also say, how are you getting on with? Maybe you know a little more about a project that you are working with, or maybe you can say, how are you getting on with the project that we talk about, or with the sale that we are going to do, or maybe you can just say, how are things going? That it is kind of a how are you, and it can help for a small talk. So then it comes step number five. In this case, step number five, it is the person that calls you doesn't want to speak to you and they want to speak to someone else. So in this case, you will be the person taking the message. So you can say, I'm sorry, he or she is not here today. Can I take a message? Or you can say, I'm afraid she or he is not available at the moment. Can I take a message? So if you want to explain that they are not there for the day, you can say the first one. If you want to let them know that they are not available at the time because maybe they are on a meeting or maybe they are on the phone, you can say the second one. And then they will say, yes, I can give you the message. Can you please tell me to call me back? This is, I don't know, maybe this is Margarita, for example. And then step number six, it is if you are having problems understanding what they're saying, maybe they give you their phone number and that, you didn't get the number, or they give you their email and you didn't get the email, you can use the tip that I said here. So don't be afraid to ask for a petition or clarification. You remember? So in this case, you will ask, could you spell that for me, please? Or you can say, how do you spell that, please? Don't be afraid to ask this, because if you understand something wrong, if you understand an email or maybe a last name or a number wrong, you will have problems later because you will not to be able to get in touch with the person, or the person you are taking the message for will not be able to get in touch with them. So after that, we have step number seven, that it is once they give you the message, what do you say? So in this case, you will say, I will give him or I will give her your message as soon as he or she gets back. So the person that you're talking to knows that you already got all the message correctly. Then you can use step number eight, that it is maybe they are asking you for information that you are not allowed to give. For example, I have this problem, especially when I am asking for quotes for flete, for transportation, especially with China. So every time I ask a Chinese logistic operator, in this case, freight forwarders, they tend to ask for too much information. Usually, when I ask for a freight quote, I will give them what is the product that I'm buying. I also give them the weight and the dimensions of the product, the port of origin and the port of destination, and that's all. That's all that they need to know so they can give me a fair price. But sometimes these suppliers, freight suppliers, they ask you for more information. For example, they will ask you for who's your client, who are you buying to, so they can get in touch with them. But if it is sensitive information that you are not allowed to give, you can say the following: I am afraid I can give you that information. Or maybe, sorry, but I'm not allowed to give details about that. It is not only for that example. I'm giving you this example because it happens to me all the time. But there are also other examples. For example, if the person that is calling you wants someone's personal number, you cannot give that information. So you can say step number eight. You can use step number eight, or maybe if they want you to give them a price or a reduction of a price that it has happened to me. When I work in a company that we sell many products, um, I had coworkers that do the same job as me. So sometimes maybe a client call and tell me, "Hey, I want to speak to your coworker," and I will say, "I'm sorry, but she's not here. Can I take a message?" And they will say, "No, I just wanted to know if you can give me a reduction on the price, but since it is not my sale, I cannot give a reduction. So maybe I can say to them, I'm afraid I cannot give you that information, or I cannot give you what you're asking for." So there are many ways in which we can use this step. Then finally, we can use step number 9, that is the ending of phone call. In this case, we say goodbye. So we have many ways. We can say, "Thanks for calling. Have a great day. Thank you for calling. I will make sure to give him or her the message." And another one is, "Thanks for calling." In this case, the last one, it is if you want to cut the phone call because you're having another phone call that is getting in. So you can say, "Thanks for calling. I have another phone call, so I will need to let you go." So you are trying to be as polite to tell them that you can no longer speak to them. Another way of saying goodbye is you can say use goodbye or have a nice day. So, but in this case, or bye bye maybe. But those kind of those ways of saying goodbye, it is if you have a more close relationship with your supplier or client. That usually we don't have that kind of friendly relationship. Do you say bye bye and they just hang up? So it is better if you say thanks for calling, have a great day. So now we're gonna see the next slide. So when you are having a conversation and you need to get an email, or you are giving an email, or maybe your last name and it is not a typical last name. In this case, it happens to me a lot. Why? Because my last name, it is a little tricky, you know? You see here, my last name is Kipusco. So when I speak to a Chinese supplier or a Japanese supplier or maybe an American supplier, they don't know how to pronounce Kipusco. They don't even know how to write it. And usually, um, companies, they for their company email, for the workers company email, they use the first letter of your first Lina Plus and Lina Plus, like I said. For example, my email from them would be L Kipusco at andinaplus.com.pe. But if I talk to a supplier that is outside Peru, especially if the person just speaks English or it is from the United States or from Europe or from Asia, they will I cannot say El Kipusco because they will not understand. They will say, "How do you write that?" So we can use a little trick. We can use a phonetic alphabet so we can spell. So I don't know if you can see here very well. Can you see here very well? We have two kinds of alphabets that we can use. These are the most common ones to use because usually everybody use them in international trade. So we can use them. We can use the NATO phonetic alphabet that it is more useful. It usually older people use this one because it has like army words like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and the other one it is a more Western phonetic alphabet that has more regular words that we all know. So as you can say, we have from A to C. So we can say instead of A, we can say alpha, instead of B. We can say Bravo instead of C. We can say Charlie, and so on. So in this case, I'm going to give you my, for example, let's say my, how would be my last name. So in this case, I could speak to someone and I can say, "This is. Can you take a message? Can you say Lilena Kipusco called?" And they are gonna say, uh, "I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Or how do you spell that, please?" So I can say Kipusco. It is Q as Quebec, U as uniform, I as India, P as Papa, U as uniform, Z as Zulu, C as Charlie, and finally O as Oscar. So they can have a little, they can get the word or the message that you're saying in a more simple way. Why? Because sometimes maybe we, especially when we talk on the phone, we don't hear very well, and maybe we can misunderstood P from Papa with T for Tango. So if we use a phonetic alphabet, if I say, in this case, maybe I can say Z, we can misunderstood C from Charlie from Z from Zulu. So maybe if I say C from Kipusco, the last one CO, they can think that I'm saying Z instead of C. So I can say C as Charlie, so they know, oh, she's talking about a C. Then the other one is we can use a Western Union alphabet, phonetic alphabet. In this case, we can say, I will give you an example as my last name. I can say my last name is Q as Queen, U as Union, I as Ida, then P as Peter, U as Union, Z as Zero, C as Chicago, O as Ocean. So for them it is a little more easy to write. Then what are the most common phrases that you can say? You can say, if the person is talking too fast, you can say, would you mind speaking a little more slowly? Like I told you before, especially when you're talking to American people, they tend to speak really, really fast because they are used to use the English in everyday talk because that is their first language. So you can ask for them to speak a little more slowly. Another one is if you didn't get something, if you didn't get a number or a last name or a message, you can say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Another one it is if you didn't get the last name because it is a little more difficult one, you can say, could you spell that for me, please? And it is really common to hear this, especially like I told you, for me having both last names that are really difficult for for international people. In this case, Americans, Europeans, and Asians. I always get this question: could you spell that for me? Because they don't understand how you spell Kipusco or Chicata. They don't even know how to pronounce, so they always ask me to spell. Another way of asking for a spell is, how do you spell that, please? And another one is, let me see if I got that right. It is, and then, for example, if the person didn't use the phonetic alphabet and they say, my last name is Alda, and they say ALDA, and you write that, so you say, let me see if I got right. It is Alda, like A as Alpha, L as Lima, D as Delta, and A as Alpha, right? So they can say, yes, it is correct, or maybe they can say, no, it is not correct. It is A as Alpha, or maybe B as Delta, D as Delta, and A as Alpha. So you can use that those phrases in order to ask for clarification and for spelling. These are very useful, especially if we are talking to people that speak too fast, or if we are speaking to people that have, like I told you, difficult last names, or if we are giving our own last name and it is not a typical last name in the country that we're talking to. So that will be all for phone calls. Now, what is the other most common way to speak to a international supplier beside a phone call? Do you know? When you speak to an international supplier, you use phone calls, and what other do you use? What other ways? In this case, you use emails. And like I told you, every time you speak to someone on the phone or the Skype or WhatsApp, and you get to an agreement with them, you have to ask them to send you an email. Why? Because what is important is what you have evidence of. And if you call someone, unless you are taping the call, you will not have any evidence. So it's going to be your word against their word. So you always need to have some evidence. So always ask for an email. So in this case, how do you send an email? How do you send a business email? So as always, we're going to see what email is. Do you know what it is, an email? So we can say an email is a message, or your email is your email address, like liliana@hotmail.com. That is email, or email is the message, or what is email? So, as usually, we're going to see what the dictionary says about email. So in this case, Cambridge Dictionary says that email, it is the system. This is interesting because we think that it is just a message. So Cambridge says that email is the system for using computers to send messages over the internet. So for Cambridge, it is the system. But for Oxford Dictionary, an email is messages distributed by electronic means from one computer user to another one, or more than one recipients via a network, in this case internet. So we can see now that email, it is the message that is distributed via internet to one or many users, computer users, or recipients at a time. And also email, it is the system for using computers to send the messages. So now that we know what is an email, we're going to see how email works. How's the vocabulary? Is there a vocabulary for email? So yes, there is a vocabulary. We are going to see that in an email vocabulary, there is a recipient. A recipient, it is the person you are writing an email to. So in this case, if you go to your Gmail, you're going to see this, right? You're going to see that it says to, and to is the recipient. So in this case, in here, you're going to write the person that you're sending the message to, the email to. Then you're going to see, then there's the word sender or from. In here you cannot see it, but there's also the word from. In Gmail and Hotmail, there is the word from. That it is the person that is sending the email. In this case, it could be our own email. So in some mailboxes, Gmail, Outlook, or Hotmail, on the top is going to say from. Oh, wait, sorry. In the top of to is going to say from. And in here is going to appear your email. already automatically for default is going to appear your email. Then there is the word attachment. What it is attachment? Attachment is the file that is attached to the email. In this case, it could be a PDF, a .pdf file, or a doc file that it is from Microsoft Word, or the .ppt that it is from Microsoft PowerPoint, or etc. For example, it could be a picture, or maybe what else? Maybe a picture that you are attaching, or what else can we send via? Or maybe if you're sending a contact information. I don't know if you have used or you have seen that you can also, when you're working especially with Outlook, you can send a contact as an attachment. So it can be the etc. in here, could be an image, or maybe a contact information as an attachment. So you are going to see it here. It is the same when you use Gmail, Hotmail, or another system. You will see this, or I'm pretty bad drawing, but I'm going to draw it anyway. Oh no, wait, I have one here. You're going to see that it says attach a file or attachment, or you're going to see a logo that it is this one. Can you see? So you're going to see this logo. That it means that it is attached, a file attached to your email. So then, what is another email vocabulary word that we can find? It is the word CC. CC. What is CC? CC means carbon copy. What it means? It means that you are copying someone other than the main recipient. So maybe I'm going to send an email to Arelis, but I also want Daisy to see what I'm sending. So I'm going to click on CC in here, which says at CC. In Gmail and Hotmail, it's going to appearing here like a box. So you click that box, and you are going to have a space to write the email. So you're going to I'm going in here in from it's going to say liliana@hotmail.com. On where it says to, it's going to say arelis@hotmail.com. And if I want Daisy to see what I'm writing, to have a copy of the email that I'm sending, I'm going to put Daisy in here at hotmail.com. Then, what is BCC? It means blind carbon copy. So it means I'm going to copy someone that it is not going to be visible to the main or the other recipients. So I click here, or sometimes in Gmail and Hotmail, there's a little box below the CC. So I'm going to click the other box, and it's going to appear a place so I can write the email. So I'm going to I'm sending from, it is liliana@hotmail.com. The two, it was arelis@hotmail.com. The CC was going to be Daisy at hotmail.com. And the blind carbon copy, the BCC, it could be Flor@hotmail.com. It means that Arelis, that it is the main recipient, is going to be able to see that I'm copying Daisy. But since Flor it is a BCC, she's not going to see that Flor is copying the message. Then the other word is subject, that it is here. What is subject? Subject, it is the topic of the email. that is going to be visible in the recipient's inbox. In this case, it could be like the title of the email. It is the subject. So we're going to write it in here. So maybe I want to talk about my email is about a sale. So I can write a quote, let's say. So I can write here in the subject quote from Andina Plus from Liliana Kipusco, for example. Liliana, or quote from Liliana Kipusco slash the company that I work in. So that's going to be the subject. And once you get the message, the person that is going to get the message in their inbox is going to see that. The other one is draft. What is draft? Have you heard about it? Draft, it is the unfinished email that is saved. So in Gmail and also in Hotmail, below, once you write, in here it's going to say draft. And it's going to say that email is saved. If you didn't finish to write and you have to go to something else, the Gmail and Hotmail is going to automatically save your email so you can keep on writing later. Or maybe if I'm writing an email on my computer and then I have to run out and then I say, I forgot to send the message. I'm going to go into my Gmail, for example, and I'm going to see here that is going to say draft. In this case, I have it in Spanish. So, it's here. It is borrador. It would be draft. So those are the email vocabulary. So now, how do we write an email? Are you still there? Are you still alive? ¿Sí, amigos? So, let me know. So, how do you write an email? When you're writing a business email, I have detailed it in 6 steps. So, the first step is to greet, to say hello. So, you can say, good morning, Mr., and you can write the last name. Or you can say, good morning, Mrs., if it is a lady that is married. Or you can say, good morning, Miss, if you don't know. Or good morning, if she is married or not. Or you can say, good morning, Miss, if you know she is single. And then the last name. Another one, it is to be a little more friendly. Then you can say, dear. So you can say, dear sir or madam, if it is a female. Or if you have the name, maybe you can say, dear James, and then a comma. Then, if you are sending an email and you don't know who's going to read it, maybe it is a general email. For example, sometimes they have like sales email, and it is just sales at let's say Coca-Cola.com. That it would be ventas@coca-cola.com. So we don't know who is going to see that. We can write this one. That is to whom it may concern. Then, what do you say after you greet? You're going to tell who you are. You're going to present yourself, introduce yourself. So you're going to say, my name is Liliana Kipusco, for example, and then I am the sales manager at Coca-Cola Company. Or my name is Liliana Kipusco. We met at Expo Plus, that is a fair, una feria. We met at Expo Plus and we discussed about a potential sale. So you can say this. And now you can see here there is an example of an email. So the greeting is going to be on the top, and then you're going to say who you are on the bottom. Then you're going to do step number 3, that it is the purpose for the writing. So in this case, it would be, I would like to help with, or maybe I would like to offer you a sale of this product, and you're going to write it in here in the body. Then you're going, after you explain why you are writing, you give the reason that you're writing, you're going to give maybe a little more the details that you're sending, in this case the attachments. So you can say, I have attached a quote for the product that you asked me, or maybe you can say, please find the attached PDF for the product or the PDF for the catalog. So you are going to write it in here. Then step number 5 is to say the action needed, what you expect from that person. So you can say, looking forward to hearing from you. That it means that you are letting the other person know that you are expecting them to write you back. Another one is, let me know what you think, that you are expecting them to write you back. And the other one is, let me know via an email or a message, a WhatsApp, when you get it. In this case, ASAP means as soon as possible. That it means as fast as you can. Finally, we're going to do the closing. So you can say best regards and then your name, like here, or you can say just best, like in here it says best, and then below it says the name, and you can say sincerely, and then your name. You can also say sincerely yours, and then the name. Remember that these are not all the ways, all the options. There are more options, but these are the more used ones. So this is how you can write an email. And the other. So first you have the greeting, then you have the body, and then you have the closing part of an email. Finally, have you ever got a message and in the bottom part below the closing you see an image? Maybe a signature, that it is an image. So I'm going to explain you maybe how can you make your own signature. So in this case, some bigger companies have this. I also have one that it is from my personal business card. So I put it like this, like an image. It is more easy, so you don't have to be typing. So in this case, what does your signature, which information it has to be on? So you're going to give your name, in this case your complete name, your first name and your last names. If you have two first names, if you have a first name and a middle name, you can give them both. If you have two last names, give them both. The more information, the better. So you're going to give your name, then has to be the job title. In this case, let's say it says that he is a managing director, she's a sales department supplement. Maybe if you are a manager, if you are an international trader, you have to write that. Then you have to give your email. In this case, you're talking about personal matters, you can give your personal email. If you're talking about business, you're going to give your business email. Then your website. If you have a website, you can give them. In this case, I don't know if you manage a website, but if you're working for a company and this company has a website, you can give your company's website. It is okay to put it in your signature. Then a telephone number. You can give your telephone number from your office, or you can give your cell phone number. It is okay. Especially if you are doing business, it is better if you give your work cell phone number instead of your personal. If not, they're going to reach you off hours, and if you don't appreciate that, you don't put in here your mobile, your cell phone number, personal cell phone number. You just put your work phone number and your office phone number. So you can give them. But remember always that we are not speaking to people that lives in Peru. So I'm not going to give for example, my cell phone number 99907, for example. I have to give the code for the country. So it's going to be plus. I'm going to write it here. If we are sending, oh, I'm sorry, it looks horrible, but I'm sorry. Okay, so if I'm giving my cell phone number to internationally for international email, it's going to be plus +51 and then my cell phone number. If I am giving my office number, it's going to be +511. In this case, if we are in Lima, the one is for Lima. If you live in another region, you have to look for your region number code, and you give +51 and then your region code, and then your land phone number. So it is important always to put your code, the code of the country and the city that you are in, so they can reach you more easily. Then put the address. Especially if you work in a company, they usually tend to put the complete address that where the company is located at. Then we're going to put the company's logo. So if we're uh, working for a company, we're going to put the company's logo. If we are talking about personal business, or maybe me doing a business as a not as a company, but as me, as I'm guiding someone to do an import. Maybe I don't need to. I don't have a logo, so I'm not going to put a logo. But maybe you can put your like here, like she put her picture. If you're comfortable enough, you can put it. It is okay. And finally, your social media links. In this case, if you work with a company, usually they have a Facebook, they have a Twitter, they have a YouTube, or maybe another social media, so you can put that on the bottom. But if it is a personal, if it is a personal, professional email, in this case, I wouldn't use a Facebook or a Twitter or a Google or a YouTube, but I will definitely use a LinkedIn one. I don't have my personal business card in here, but in my personal business card, it is my phone number and also my LinkedIn link, my LinkedIn link. So they can, if I am doing personal professional business, they can have all my information from there, because in LinkedIn, you know that there is the complete um, curriculum vitae. So you can have that LinkedIn link to social media in your signature, in your email signature. So as a wrap up, we have seen how to handle phone calls, when someone calls you, when someone calls you, when you call someone, and some tips. Again, I have to repeat, always before calling someone internationally, if you're going to talk in a language that is not your first language, in English it could be, or maybe another language, you have to relax and take a deep breath before calling. So you're relaxed, and if you're relaxed, are you will not make so many mistakes, or at least won't be afraid of making mistakes. Then we saw the phonetic alphabet, that it is, if you don't get a word, you don't get an email, you didn't understood well last time, you can use the phonetic alphabet. So you can give them that information, or you can confirm, so they can confirm you the what you heard, it is okay. Then we saw how do we handle an email. We saw we saw the meaning of an email. We now know that it is a system, and that email is system and message. And let me tell you that you can see this, right? You can use with a hyphen or without a hyphen. It is okay. Both ways are okay. So don't be scared, don't be afraid to write it with a hyphen or without one. It is okay. So we saw that it is a system and a message. Then we saw the email vocabulary. Now we know what it is CC and what is BCC, what it means, and what that letters stands for. And then we saw how to write an email, a business email. Finally, how you can do your signature, so you can put it as as an image, or you can just type it and you can put it in here when you're writing an email. So that would be all. Again, as always, I'm leaving you here the references where I took all the information. You can check it later. And finally, I want to thank you for your attention.